Let's talk about in the closing stages of the sale when you've asked for the order and the customer wants to try to negotiate a better deal from you. How do you handle that? Well, one of the most boring ways of handling a negotiation is the typical way it's done. It's where somebody starts out offering a price, that would be you, and the customer says, no, that's far too expensive. I was thinking the price should be more like something else. And they offer something very low, and you talk back and forth until you reach a price somewhere in the middle that you both feel, okay, let's go ahead on that basis. Well, that's one way to win a deal, but it erodes millions off the bottom line of your company every year when people unnecessarily give away price discounts. Now, there's much more that you can negotiate on than just the price. So the subject of this video will be to focus on how you can create a list of concessions that are tradable and that you should plan these before you have a discussion that might involve a negotiation aspect to it. And having planned what you would want to negotiate is about not just focusing on price, but including numerous variables in your list of things that you can trade and involving those into the discussion. So let's talk about this. Planning your negotiation in advance. There's more than just price that you can put on the table, and it's important that you create a list of items that you could trade with the customer in return for some of the things that they're asking for, which is usually a cheaper price or better terms. So let's think about some of the items that you can trade. Now, the most typical things that come to mind is price, how many units you'll give them for the price. So the price might stay the same, but they get 10% more. Sometimes customers ask for that. It might be in terms of that they want you to upgrade them to your premium service package for free, or they might want you to throw in education for free or at a rebated price. They might want a concession in terms of free delivery. There's a range of different things that they might ask for that you might say, well, I could throw this in or I could throw that in. It'll sweeten the deal and maybe that'll be enough. But your competitors can also offer exactly the same things. So you don't get any differentiation by offering these transactional types of tradables into the equation. What you might choose to do instead is think back to all the things the customer has shared with you about their decision criteria, the areas upon which they're evaluating you against the other suppliers that they might be talking to for similar product or service. If you've uncovered what's on their formal evaluation list, and if you've asked which of these items are most important to different people and why, and if in building your relationship with these people, you've learned that there are some concerns and some aspirations that aren't written down in the formal list of criteria, yet they're still there in the background shaping these people's opinions, you should think about what you can do to provide for those decision criteria. How can you guarantee those outcomes for the customer? Because these are like coins in your purse that you can offer as part of the negotiation process. We can say, Roger, remember when we met a number of weeks ago and you told me that this was very important to you. The way that I can deliver my solution can be exactly matched to delivering that to you. And I can guarantee that to you. But in return for that, there's something I might want from you in return. So negotiation goes both ways. They will ask things of you, but you should also think about things that you should be asking of them. I'll come back to that in a moment. But as a result of understanding their formal or their informal decision criteria, that's what you need to map back to. So what can you offer that will satisfy those things? These things become tradables for you. Now, there are some ways of looking at this in terms of what is it that you could offer the customer that doesn't actually cost you anything or doesn't cost you a lot, but might be perceived as having enormous value for the customer. These things also should be added to your list of tradables. For instance, it might be very important for the customer that if you can deliver and install and get them ready to use your solution by a certain date, a date that's a trigger date, it's a compelling date for them to have everything in place by, and you know you can absolutely deliver that, that might hold extraordinary value. And this is something that should be in your list of tradables. If there are some areas that you've realized that maybe your company needs to customize certain parts of your solution to be an exact match for your customer, and you know that other suppliers are offering off-the-shelf solutions, the fact that you can customize and make it absolutely bespoke, that could be an extraordinarily valuable tradable that means something to certain people in that buying committee. It might be that you could offer them that if they become your customer, you can open them up to various forums inside your business that could introduce them to other businesses. It could help them network, maybe to other companies that fit their target customer profile. This could save them a fortune in marketing and prospecting if you can introduce them straight to other companies and to the decision makers in those companies that might buy the sorts of products or services your customer offers. So opening up your network to them could be something that's not listed on the decision criteria, but it can be extraordinarily valuable to them in other ways. This again becomes a coin that you can negotiate with the customer. You might offer to not just give them referrals, but once they become customers of yours and you start working together and get to know each other, maybe you would say, you know, we could create some recommendations on LinkedIn 6 months into the relationship and start networking that way to tell people why you guys are really good to have as a customer and what a good business that you have. To some people who have the personal ambition of creating more LinkedIn profiles, it sounds like a small, trivial thing, but to some people that's really important. You do that for me? Wow, I'm really impressed. I want that. It might be that you have specialist magazines or newsletters that your company produces that go to a certain section of your customer base. Some companies do this. They have either highly technical or privileged information that goes to the higher echelon of customers. You could say, this usually goes to customers that spend more than a certain amount with us, but I'll make sure that that information is available. Not just those newsletters, but maybe some of the special conferences or lunches or VIP breakfasts that your company might put on to a certain type of customer. You could say, I'll make sure that you're invited to those. This could, again, be of extraordinary value. Maybe your company provides conferences at an external event, a bit of a junket for some clients. And they go and they hear special speakers. Or maybe there's an industry conference that your company buys seats to that are given away to certain clients. Maybe this is a tradable. You could say, I'll make sure that we get 3 of those seats for your company. I know that you've never been at that conference, but it's where all the movers and shakers go, and I can get you in there. This might be something, again, it's not part of their formal evaluation list, but it's extremely narcotic and very attractive to certain people that you might be selling to. It might be that you agree that 6 to 12 months into the relationship, if they're starting to really use your solution and do a really great job of getting the benefits out of that, that you might want to create a case study. So you could offer, we'd like to measure the value and measure and examine how you guys do things and create a case study about why you're such a great company and why your management is really switched on and how you're leading the way into the future. This could be something that they would then put out to their customers and prospects, you see. So there's a whole range of ideas that you can bring to the table, but each one of these, if it can tie back to an element of what you know is important to them that you've discovered in looking at their decision criteria, or even what they're trying to achieve as a business, you can create value out of things that don't actually create a lot of cost or complication for you, but are perceived to be of tremendous importance to them. And each one of these is like another coin in the purse that you can use to negotiate with. So if the customer is saying, I'd like you to cut some percentages off of your price, you could say, well, that's one way we could go, but there are some other things that we could do to offer to you and keep the price exactly the same. And so you're in a position to start talking to them about some of these ideas. Now, There's another adage, another phrase when it comes to negotiation that goes like this: never give unless you get. What that means is, if you think of some scales and the customer is asking for this and this and this, and you're saying, well, I can add some of these in to our solution. I can offer some of these other things that maybe even things up. But if you feel that you're on the losing side, it's perfectly legitimate for you to say, there are some things that you could do for us as a customer once you come on board that I'd like to ask for, because what you're asking me to give, it's a lot, really. It's a significant ask. In return, if I can do these things for you, there are some things I think you could grant for me that would even things up and make this a real win-win. It might be that you decide that you want to ask them for a guaranteed reference or a guaranteed case study about the value of your product or service in their organization that you can publish within 6 months of them putting your products and services in place. You might say, in return for giving you some of the concessions that you're asking for, we'd like to ask that the next time you have a tender for these types of products or services, we be the first ones that have the right to respond to that. Is that reasonable? You might ask that in return for some of the concessions that they want to negotiate out of you, you could grant them if they guarantee that they'll introduce you to key people in other departments where you could sell your products and services, and that they give a very good recommendation as they do that handover. Again, to the customer, this is easy for them to do, but it means a lot to you. It might be that on signing the deal, you agree that you put out a joint press release, which you can use for your marketing. It might be that the next time your company releases a new product, that you say, the next time we do that, and we've got a new product coming up in 18 months, we'd like you to agree that your company will be one that will be the pilot site for this. So I can give you all the concessions you're looking for now, but in return, we'd like to defer a decision that we will get the benefit of later when we release this new product. So you don't have to do anything about it now, as long as we agree, and we've got it in writing, that your company will be the first one that will pilot this, because we'll need references in the marketplace. So I can give you value right away if you promise to give us value down the road. So plan your negotiation in advance. Create a list, not just of what you could do in terms of discounting the price, but what other things can you offer the customer so you don't have to discount your price. Things that are perceived to be of value to them, where you could say, let's keep the price the same, but I can offer you this and this and this. That may tip the scales in your favor. But if they still are not convinced and they say, well, I want more, I want more from this, you could say, well, that really now starts to hurt me really badly. So there are some things that I've planned in advance that might be things I could ask you for, and this is what they need to look like. So I can give you A if you give me B. The goal is to balance the scales and help you and they feel that you've had a good barter, that you've reached a point where they've given some concessions to you, you've given some concessions to them, you've got mutual respect, but there's really good value being exchanged. Now that is what a win-win really looks like. It's something you've really hashed out together and you've come up with the basis for a really good business relationship. Not just them saying, give me a discount, and you saying, well, okay, if you give me the order today. That's not a negotiation. That's a submission. It's a retreat. And professional negotiators plan more professionally than that. So think about, what can I give? What's likely to be of value to them? What do I want to ask for? And make it a real discussion where there's give and take, there's a real negotiation, and there's a real outcome that provides win-win value. Talk to your colleagues, talk to your managers, maybe even talk to your customers to get a list of those ideas so that you can think about what should be in your purse of coins that you can put on the table, and what things do you want to take off of the table. This is a game of negotiation. It's about balance and it's about value. But as you start thinking these things through and trying these discussions with your customers, they'll recognize they're not just dealing with a peddler of products. They're dealing with somebody that truly understands what value looks like to them. You're a business person and you're prepared to meet them on those terms. Their respect for you will go up and your ability to close will go in exactly the same direction.